What random acts of kindness have backfired on you, making you wish you never attempted them to begin with? When my family and I were on 4th of July vacation, we were hanging out on a beach. My dad sees a girl splashing and screaming for help out in the water. Apparently these two girls, who were probably somewhere around 12, got caught swimming too far out. One girl got a hold of a boy and the other was starting to panic. He runs into the water and swims over to her. He gets a hold of her and starts to swim her toward shore, but she is panicking and struggling and trying to push him under to keep herself up. The girl's family was in a boat not far away. They see the commotion and come rushing over. They thanked my dad and asked if he wanted a ride back to shore. When they get into the boat, her dad asks if she's okay and she tells them he was trying to look down my swimsuit. It was a very quiet ride back. My father is a Vietnam Navy vet on vacation with his wife and kids, building fricking sand castles. When he recently told me this story, I was young and only vaguely remember it. He said to me, "What the frick am I trying to get a peek at? An 11-year-old squirrelty?" Props to your dad for giving me the term squirrelty. Guy walks up to me while I'm pumping gas and says he's stranded and needs money for the bus. I give him $2. He walks inside the gas station and buys some Mentos candy. We make eye contact when he leaves. His smirk is ingrained in my memory. It makes me sad to think of this. I was on a charity project in Ghana and gave a kid I had become fond of a toy which she prized. I saw her very bruised back the next day at the school, but she wouldn't tell me why Sarah was badly beaten. Her mum brought the toy back that afternoon and apologized for her daughter stealing it. She promised that the little girl would think again before stealing in future. I tried to explain, but the mother didn't believe me and thought I was covering for the little girl. She was about 6. Gutted. That's horrible. If it makes you feel any better, I was in a similar situation as that girl when I was younger. If she was anything like me, she never blamed you and really appreciated what you did. Woman dropped her wallet in front of me while walking down Broad in Philly. Caught up to her to return it and got accused of not only taking her wallet, but taking the money that was supposedly in it. It was a good day. Old scam. I hope you didn't give her any money. My wife donated a kidney to a stranger. All bills were supposed to be taken care of by the recipient. We have been told that their insurance didn't pay enough and a collection agency is after us for $10,000. This started 9 months ago. The answer to this is your local TV station's consumer reporter. They will eat up this sort of story. It gives them a chance to bash the insurance companies and hospital. Also, unless you sign something agreeing liability, tell them to go pound sand. I flagged someone down on the highway who was driving with a flat tire. We both pulled over and they explained they didn't have a spare. I offered to drive them to the closest convenience store and back for a can of Fix-A-Flat. Not only did they ride in my car silently, offering no thanks, but they also stole my wallet out of my console when I wasn't looking. About 6 years ago, I was on lunch break and went to grab a sub at Subway. There was a homeless guy outside the store asking for change, and I asked him if he wanted a sub. He said sure, and I invited him in to pick. We go inside and stand in line. At first I thought everyone would stare at the homeless guy, but I was rather surprised when nobody did. We had 2 people ahead of us, and I was just chatting with the guy and learned that he lost everything between the bad stocks and a cheating wife. Found out his name was Danny. When we were next in line, 2 police officers walked in and stood behind us. Not very unusual for this Subway, but the Danny got a little nervous. I started to place my order and told the other lady behind the counter to make him 2 of whatever he wanted. Right then, the cops just grabbed Danny and slam him into the ground and start to cuff him. No warning, no verbal commands, just whipped him around and face planted him on the tile. I turned and tried to talk to the second officer, who pushed me away from him and into the drink cooler door, which then shattered. The other customers bolted outside while Danny was dragged outside by his cuffs. As I stood up from the push, the cop grabs me and rolls me over onto the broken glass and cuffs me. Now I carry a concealed firearm, so I tell the officer as he is cuffing me, and while I am cuffed, freaks out and draws down on me, who is laying face down, handcuffed, and yells, "Don't freaking move." I calmly tell him where it is and he rips the holster from my belt loop and tosses it onto a table, where a few customers are still within reach. Another officer walks in and helps me up, then dusts the glass off of me. He asks me what happened and I relay the story to him. He uncuffs me, grabs my pistol and clears it, then hands it back to me and says don't put it away until you get in your vehicle. I agree and walk out with them. There is Danny in the back of the patrol car, all bloodied up and obviously shaken. I ask the officer what the problem was, and unbeknownst to me, Danny was asked repeatedly to leave the property. When I brought him inside, it was considered criminal trespass and he was arrested. I told the officer that I invited him in for food and he said it didn't matter. A few minutes later, the aggressive cop walks up to me and hands me a paper. I look down and it's a notice of trespass for the same subway and the entire shopping center. At first, I didn't know how he got my name and info, but when I got slammed, I had my wallet in my hand and he must have picked it up. I took the no trespass to court and got it overturned with ease, but found out Danny had to do jail time because of previous offenses and being a repeat offender. I even had a meeting with his judge about him, and the judge didn't care at all. Was walking in the park on a really hot day and there were a bunch of kids fighting over 2 freezies, Mr. Freeze, ice pops, whatever your region calls them. Now, these things are like 30 cents, so naturally I buy like 20 and go back and hand them all out. The kids are really excited. As I'm walking off, I turn to see an adult collecting the freezies back while looking at me. I kept walking, being all oh well, her problem. 2 cop cars tracked me down and questioned me for 3 hours. Now nobody gets ice creams. Freaking paranoia, seriously. An exceptionally small act of kindness, or courtesy, that backfired. I was at Walmart a couple days ago picking up the new Gears of War game. There was one associate in electronics, so I waited my turn to be helped. We retrieved the game from the display case and returned to the register to find a man standing, ready to check out. As I had between there first, the sales associate asked him to step aside so I could complete my purchase. This guy backs up, but not before rolling his eyes, looking back at me and scoffing. I am in no particular hurry, so I encourage him to go ahead. No problem. The customer proceeds to berate the cashier. Wow, I've never been asked to step away before. Where'd you learn those service skills? Ricky, are you the only one here? If I were your manager, I'd get someone else back here who knows how to treat customers. Ricky, I am a retail manager, and this crap makes my blood boil. I tell the guy, hey, you're kind of being a dong. Just make your purchase and go. He replies, look, I'm a customer service trainer for Walmart. I'm a little higher up the chain than Ricky here. He needs to learn to take case of his customers. I am just seeing red at this point. You mean me? Because I was here first, and I am just as much a customer as you. Guy finishes his transaction, walks away. I walk up and apologize to Ricky. Guy hears me and returns. Don't apologize for me, man. You do. I will apologize for you, because you're freaking butthole. This guy is doing his job. You don't need to harass him. In fact, Ricky, is there a customer service number on your receipt? Yes. Great. And what's your name? Sir, I want Walmart to know who the biggest douchebag that works for their company is named. Guy didn't give me his name. Surprisingly, talked to management on my way out to make sure they were aware that Ricky did everything the best he could. Frick people, sometimes. I like this comment because it's not sad. In college during the winter we had a heavy snowstorm. Everyone was walking to class and I was heading down the outdoor steps to the basement where class was. A girl was walking in front of me. She slipped and began to fall. Without thinking I reached my arms under hers to try and prevent her from falling. In doing so, I slipped and my legs went forward under hers. She landed on top of me and literally rode me like a sled down the stairs. She stood up and walked away. Never helped me up. Never said thank you. Never asked if I was okay. That hurt like a mother sucker too. Got drunk at the Floribama in Gulf Shores a couple of years back. As you do. When drunk at the Floribama, I went across the street to the Waffle House for some belly spackle to keep the booze down. After shoveling my face full of patty melt and vanilla coke, I discovered someone's cell phone on the ground in the parking lot. Figured I'd be a good guy and try to return it. End up texting the last person in their message roll and getting in touch with the owner the next day while I was on my way back home. B was a serious C from the word go. She ends up berating me, wanting to know how I ended up with her phone, why I wasn't still at the beach, blah blah blah. I told her, look, just text your address to the phone and I'll mail it back to you at no cost. She agrees and then calls me back immediately to demand that I meet her somewhere between my house and the beach to give it to her. I told her she was making things difficult and that I was trying to do the right thing, to which she replied that I was being difficult. Calmly rolled the window down and hucked that post somewhere along Highway 59 in Foleyal with her still on the other end. I really hope she heard it bounce. Well, I tried to help an alcoholic friend get sober. Not only did I lose her as a friend, but I also lost her father as a friend because she severely badmouthed me to him, as she stole from him the whole time. Also, not me but my husband, tried to stop a guy who was beating up his girlfriend in a bar parking lot back in the 80s. He pulled the guy off her and told him to leave her alone. The next thing he knew, the girl jumped on his back, hitting him in the head and face with her shoe, screaming at him to leave her boyfriend alone. My husband grabbed the girl off his back by the scruff of her neck and dumped her on the ground. He told her, well, frick you then. I guess you like being treated like crap. He told her boyfriend, carry on then, and walked away, got in his car, and left. That's unfortunately common. Third party intervenes. Woman being beaten abused immediately views the third party as the aggressor and her abuser whoever as the victim and gets defensive. Moved a friend of 22 years out of her house with a husband who beat her, placed her in a spare bedroom in my house, bought her clothes, got her a job, and money to buy things she needed, took her to doctor's appointments, found out 4 months before my wedding to my fiancée whom I shared a house with, that they were making sweet love to each other while I was at work. So I lost my house, was in his name till after the marriage, the $10,000 I put into remodeling it, my Jeep, and all the money already spent on the wedding. They now live there together and the B does not even work. I got the short end of that good deed. That's just fricked up on so many levels. That's not just random acts of kindness. That's full on give a part of your life to someone kindness and getting spit in the face in return. Very sorry to hear about it. Hopefully you will find a way to rebound as it appears you know what you are doing in life to be successful and independent. I was a 3rd grade teacher a couple years ago. My class went on a field trip to the DC Zoo. I split up my class into groups of 4-5 to go around with each chaperone and I gave myself a group as well. It was hot and I only had 5 kids with me, so I offered to get them frozen ices at like $5 each. One student got blue, took a bite and told me he wanted red instead. I told him sorry that I didn't have money to throw around like that and to try to enjoy the icy. He threw it on the ground and cried. This child was never my favorite student, but after that day, whoa. I was trail running and noticed a tree had fallen down across the path, and I passed a mother with a stroller enjoying the bright sunny day, so I without hesitation went to go move the tree out of the path so she could continue on. I picked up the tree and threw it on the side of the path. All of a sudden I hear a noise, then a pain on my knee. It was then I noticed a swarm of bees coming after me, and little stings all over. I started running and stopped after about 5 minutes only to find out the bees were still chasing me. I started fricking plane striding like a fricking gazelle all the way back to the car. I had an allergic reaction and spent 3 days in the hospital. TLDR. I moved the tree out of a path so people can use it, spent 3 days in the hospital from multiple bee stings. This is the most genuine backfire. This wasn't someone being a pick to you. This was simply bad luck. Not me. My brother came home with this story from his trip to Taiwan. So he was seated in a fully seated bus and a lady was standing in the aisle. So naturally, my brother offers his seat to her. Pretty bold of him since he does not speak the tiniest bit of Chinese. And this lady starts telling my brother off in Mandarin. She was pee and was practically screaming at him inside the bus. My brother takes his seat and buries his head in his hands. He finds out later that culture dictates you only offer your seat to the elderly and this woman was insulted cause I guess she wasn't that old. From what I'm gathering from the comments in this thread and many others, it is best to just forget all manners and just sit in your seat like it's a freaking throne, because no good will come from offering your seat to old women. I once offered to carry an elderly lady's cart up the subway steps, which she accepted, but only on the condition that I never be more than 2 steps ahead of her lest I steal her stash of plastic bags and empty cookie sleeves. What I hadn't anticipated was her superlative slowness. She stalled at the foot of the stairs for a good 90 seconds before making her first move, following which she took a break of about 3 minutes. Around a quarter of an hour had elapsed by the time she reached the 5th step, at which point she sat down, leaned her head against the wall and appeared to prepare for a nap. I managed to prod her awake after a minute or so, prompting her to accuse me of attempting to grab the goodies. The whole ordeal took a little over 20 minutes. Her brief nap, it must be said, significantly improved her top speed over the second half of the ascent, and as she reached the penultimate step I deposited her metal crap-heap of a cart on the landing and bade her the best of luck reaching the surface before winter set in. She grumbled something about the youth of today being unhelpful and ungrateful, and then sat down for what I assume was a second nap to prepare her for the final push to the summit. TLDR. Step. Break. Step. Break. Step. Break. Step. Break. Step. Nap. Poke. Step. Break. Step. Break. Step. Break. Step. Grumble. Nap. This was hilarious. You have far more patience than I do. After witnessing firsthand how incredibly rude so many people act towards cab drivers, I started sitting in the front seat of taxis and having conversations with the driver. We talk about where they were from, their families, how late they were working, etc. I had a lot of interesting conversations, plus most seemed to genuinely enjoy the company and many actually thanked me at the end of the ride. Then one time, while studying abroad in Vienna, I started talking to a cabbie who picked my friends and I up from a bar. We were chatting about his wife, when suddenly he put his hand on my thigh, tried lifting my skirt and continuously attempted to grope me as I slapped his hand away repeatedly. Thankfully we were right by my dorm, so I jutted out of the cab and we obviously refused to pay. The cabbie threatened to call the police and one of my friends ended up punching him in the face. Then the cabbie stalked the dorm that I lived in for the next week and stared at me every time I left. Now I sit on my phone in silence in the back of cabs. TLDR. Tried to befriend a cabbie, got groped, got stalked. I was standing outside the bar and heard a woman crying in the parking lot. I walked over towards her and asked if she was okay. Some drunk butthole who was about 60, I'm 22, came over and told me to leave her alone. I said I was just asking her if she was okay and he punched me in the head. I basically asked him what the frick was his problem and walked away. Offered to make a friend a dress for her grad since she was always complaining about how poor she was. We found a design she liked, bought the material. I didn't charge her for anything, and I was literally 2 seams away from being done when she posts on Facebook that she bought a grad dress. Out of curiosity I check the pictures. Lo and behold, she's there in a $500 dress that looked almost exactly like the one I was just about done that her dad bought her. We don't talk anymore. I was at the 7/11 by my house the afternoon before Thanksgiving. I wanted to do something nice. It was the holidays and I thought I'd grab something to eat for the 4 or 5 homeless people that hang out in the parking lot. Why do 7/11s everywhere attract homeless like a magnet? I figured bananas were portable, nutritious, and easy to eat. I grabbed a bunch and handed them out to the young couple, the crazy guy, the scary guy, and then went to give one to the crazy scary lady and she started screaming at me, calling me a bee and telling me she wasn't no freaking monkey who eats bananas repeatedly. Everyone was staring, and she ranted on, calling me a racist and whatnot. She was the only black person of the whole group that I had given them to. I wasn't targeting her with a banana. I was just trying to be thoughtful. Everyone who had just come out of the store or just pulled in to only witness this conclusion was staring at me as if I were wearing a white hood. They attract them because they have clean bathrooms, cheap drinks, and people willing to give them money if they ask big enough. This happened around New Year's. We had just had a snowstorm. The sidewalks were not shoveled. I saw a woman in a motorized wheelchair putting along the side of the road. It looked really dangerous. I was on the cell phone at the time. She waved me down, told me in broken English that her wheelchair was running out of power. I ended my call. This woman told me she just needed to get to the firehouse 4 blocks away that had a power plug. So being a nice guy, and fearing for her safety, I decide to help her. I start pushing the wheelchair, and it loses power. Now, motorized wheelchairs are freaking heavy, so I'm suffering, and she seems to be unfamiliar with the operations. Toggling the controls which would engage the clutch and make it harder to push. After about a block and a half of this, she decides to help, and climbs out of the wheelchair. Wait, WTF, she can walk. So I was pushing a dead motorized wheelchair with a totally capable person in it. In broken English, she tells me she bought the wheelchair at a yard sale a few blocks so she could sell it. Now I'm P. I had assumed she was disabled, but I don't say anything. I struggle with the freaking wheelchair. She's of little help, just walking alongside and giving it a desultory push every once in a while. We finally get to the firehouse. We push the bell. No response. Go round and ring another bell. Finally a fireman shows up. I tell him the woman's wheelchair has run out of power. His response, "What do you want me to do?" I motion at her to talk to him, and walk away to let them figure it out. I felt totally taken advantage of. As soon as she stood up I should have told her she was on her own. So if you were in Arlington, MA around New Year's and saw a black guy pushing an Asian woman in a wheelchair, that is what this was about. Absolutely ridiculous. It would be one thing for her to say, "I need help, get up and help you push," to sit there and make it more difficult. Sometimes the state of humanity makes me really depressed. A couple of years ago, as a favor to a friend, I redesigned his small business's website for free. Granted, I'm not an awesome designer, but it was a massive improvement. I took them from practically GeoCities to a decent WordPress site. Nobody once said thank you. And then, a couple of weeks ago, they found a new web guy to redo their site. My friend invited me to a meeting to look at the mockups and tell them what I thought. For half the meeting, staff members crapped on the old design, complained about how awful and tacky it was. Apparently, my friend never told anyone that I was the guy who made it. Was in a bus and saw this girl on her way to school with a caterpillar creeping on her shoulder. I don't think she was aware of it. I removed it without her permission. She started to cry. Awkward. Don't use your penis next time. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.